Hey, this is John with Real Hardware Reviews on day 2 of CES, and today we're with Anthony at Thermaltake. So tell us all about everything Thermaltake.
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and start off with some of our power supplies. We have 2 new series. We have our GF1 and our PF1 lines, standing for gold and platinum. That's actually separated from there out into our IRGB plus lines and our ARGB plus lines. The IRGB, it's pretty familiar. It's been on the market for a good little bit. It's fully software controlled. For not only just the lighting and fan speed controls, but for everything else relating back to your power supply as well. I actually have it pulled up right here. Sorry.
You can see it just behind him as well.
Yep. I have the unit actually powered on right here. This is one of the new ARGB models where it actually has a ring trio fan built in. So you're getting quite a lot more light, a lot better diffusion. And so if you're building in a case something that's open frame, you can actually get the most out of your power supply. It's not just a black box just sitting there anymore. And with the digital control that some of these have, it's actually very cool. I mean, it's kind of awesome to be able to be there in a game saying, oh, hey, look, I'm pulling 500 or 600 watts. Yeah. And know that exactly versus just guesstimating, you know, because half the time a lot of people just guesstimate. Yeah. I think, you know, I have this part and this part and this part, so I should be around here. This is going to tell you for sure.
They do look phenomenal. Wow, are they heavy?
Yes. It's got a nice little heavy feel to it, but hey, I mean, that's some quality right there.
I also see you were discussing these with me earlier, the cables. I didn't even notice they were here.
Yeah, we have some sleeve cables, and they go great. I mean, these are my personal favorites, the black and white. I'll show you guys some builds later so you can see how they look actually in the build. But yeah, we've been selling some sleeved cables, so if you don't want to have to go with, let's say, maybe the flat cables, which I love our flat cables on these power supplies. I'm a very big stickler on cable management. These make my life so easy. Yeah. It's so nice. I'd rather deal with that versus a big bundle of braided cable.
Yep.
But if you do not want to use that, or maybe you want some extra flair, we got it for you with our sleeved cables. They do come with full cable combs and a setup for both 8-pin and 6-pin PCIe.
And even in RGB, right?
Yes, even in RGB. So if you want to go full crazy and just have the most rainbow computer you want, you can do it. We offer other colors like pink, yellow, blue, green, red, of course.
So the boys from Corsair didn't run in and steal this from you yet? This guy's got some weird RGB obsession.
Not yet, man. Not yet. Been hiding those away.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's cool.
All right, so you can actually see some more of the power supplies here in application. Now, I just kind of glanced over what the ARGB power supply was. Right now will actually be a perfect time for me to show you this. Apply to all. So let's see here. What ARGB is going to do here is rather than having it controlled through my Thermaltake software, I'm actually going to control it from my motherboard software. So right now I have it on a white breathing. Let's go ahead and hit blue and actually make that blue. Oh, sorry, I went black. But there you go. So with ARGB, you don't have to use a bunch of different stuff. It's all just going to go through that one motherboard control. It does have all the different connection cables for like Gigabyte, Asus, MSI, ASRock. Hopefully there's not one that I missed there, but just about every motherboard manufacturer. Yep. If you got a 5 or a 12 volt on there, we can go ahead and make use of that. That way everything ties in.
That is really cool.
Yep.
Covering more and more of the customer base, making it a lot easier on them.
Yeah, dude, we want to make it not only easier, but customize it. You know, we were talking a lot earlier about we want your machine to really feel like it's yours. You know, like you were able to customize it and not make it feel like it was just the same thing that everyone else has, because you're spending a certain amount, you're putting in a certain amount of blood, sweat, and tears into your build. It should be something special to you. Yep. It really should.
So we got your trio fans here?
Oh, yeah. So we actually have these are our trios and our duos.
Okay.
So we have trios over here on the right and duos over here on the left. I love that we've branched out into the 200 mils. I've always been a big 140 mil proponent because I like the beefy look. The 200 mils are just really up and coming. One really cool thing about these fans is, for instance, the trios is kind of explanatory. It's 3 lighting zones, the duos are 2. Now, you would generally figure that all 3 of those lighting zones are connected to each other and synced. However, they're not. They're each individual. So if you want on one of the rings to go thermal mode, see what temperature your computer's at. Maybe another one, do sound mode. You're playing some music, having a party. Third mode, you can have it just go nuts on RGB. It's really allowing you to customize and do whatever you want. Just the amount of information you can get from a fan on how your computer's doing, it's amazing. It's very cool. It's making things very simple at a glance.
So other than the RGB, is there any major differences between these two fans, the Duo and the Trio?
Not so much. It's a very aesthetics thing. You're looking at the extra set of RGB from there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then let's see here. Moving on. We can scoot over some. Really quick before we go too far, we have our Pure fans. Not to have these left out. These are awesome fans. They have great performance. Very good light diffusion, and these are some of those fans like I was saying. I mean, if RGB does bug you, but you do like it, you can always shut off everything, and the fans look amazing. These ones are at a very good price point, where we have them in Pure Plus and Pure ARGB, so whatever you're looking for them to do, they're going to be able to do that. These ones right now set up are ARGB, and if you take a look here, I can change my modes. They're even linked up with our new Pacific R1. This is pretty cool. If you have some memory, you want to hop on that RGB craze, but you don't want to have to buy new memory, this is perfect for you. It's going to integrate with either the motherboard syncing or through our Plus controllers, and you have full customization for the LEDs there. I really love this diffusion. It's very nice and subtle. It's nothing super crazy to where I'm going with like some massive hot spots or anything like that. And like I said, if you have a bunch of other Thermaltake stuff, it just helps round out that ecosystem for a nice, clean looking.
What's the price point on something like this?
I'll need to double check.
Okay.
I believe, though I'm not 100%, might have been around 59 or so.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Moving over though, one of the big highlights for our show. This is one of our big things here at CES. We're doing memory, and it's water-cooled memory. So we're not just stopping at memory. We're going to water cool it because we're Thermaltake and we love water cooling. This is a first for us in this market, but we feel very good about it. We're starting out with 2 and 4 gig kits. It's all 3200 megahertz, my favorite sweet spot for speed at least. The 16 gig kits still do come with 4 sticks. However, 2 of those sticks are dummy just to finish, filling out the full kit. So if you upgrade later, you're still all set to go. The units can be used with or without the water block. However, it's just so nice with that water block on there. You have all the beautiful RGB, plus as you can see, it's syncing up with that W4 Plus. Like I said, don't have to mess with a bunch of different programs or different effects.
Very true.
It's all set to go for you. As someone who does a lot of custom water cooling, I can't wait to start on this. It's just one extra challenge to see what I can do with some of the tube runs. I'm very, very excited. And then even with that said, we were talking about with the water blocks, even if you did for some reason take the chance to run it without the block,
it still looks amazing.
It's so gorgeous. I love this just clean, minimalistic, all black.
Is it copper or aluminum on the
silver
shield?
Trim. I believe it's an aluminum.
It's still got a ton of weight to it though.
Yeah, it's a nice little good machined out piece of aluminum. This is actually all solid. Just about all solid. You can see a slight bit of thermal pad right there, and then it's gonna hook the nickel plated copper block sits right on top from there.
Okay.
Yeah, overall I've been really happy with these sticks. I was telling my boss I might need to take some of these. We'll hit some of the other components on the way over. If you guys want, let's go ahead and check out some of the mod systems, because we didn't get to talk about those just yet.
Okay.
So we have a few cases here. Right here on the right side, we have a couple of mods. These are both by Stuart Tonks. Stuart does some of the most amazing work. This is level 20 mod. And dude, I'm just in love with this big water distribution plate. It looks so nice.
The reservoir is a work of freaking art.
It's just gorgeous, right? And then he took it even one step further, like, nah, it's not good enough with just that. I need to etch into a Thermaltake logo. And just what he did with this case is gorgeous. Just sourcing that chromed out copper tubing, it looks amazing. The tube runs are beautiful. The case, it looks like it was made from the factory black, but he actually painted it black. And it was to the point where we were like, dude, how did you get a black case? We didn't even know that they made this. And he's like, nah, I painted this myself. And it just came out
quality
gorgeous.
Is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I see he's a fan of the, what's that, the Jewel Edition? Whatever their new G-Skill Edition is?
G-Skill Royals.
Yeah, Royals, yeah.
Gotta feel royal.
Yeah.
And then this Next one over here to the left is actually another build by Stuart. This is in the level 20 GT, and I gotta say, man, you're gonna hear me say it a few times, I love this case. This is the next one I'm using for my own personal build, and just what he did in here was amazing. I mean, how he ran all the tubes and how he decided not to use any fans or radiators up top, but instead make it into a distribution plate was just amazing. I mean, the tube runs look awesome. Let me see if I can tilt it over so you can get a nice shot. But one of the big things that I like about this case, which we'll go farther into, is, I mean, whether you're going air or LCS, it has a lot to offer you. LCS especially, I mean, we're talking about dedicated pump mounting, dedicated trap doors for water cooling draining. For someone who does that all the time, it's really refreshing to see, just because if I can drain it without having to do a bunch of extra work, like flip it upside down, I'm all for that. You have a ton of radiator mounting options. Power supply cover, which actually still shows your power supply but hides the cables. I mean, that's awesome. I want to show off my power supply, especially if you go nice with it.
Why pay for RGB in your power supply if you ain't going to use it?
Exactly. You might as well be able to actually show it off and see it. One really cool thing about this case in particular is the actual back PCI bracket fully detaches and flips 90 degrees.
Okay.
So if you want to go horizontal or if you want to go vertical, it's not a problem whatsoever. That bracket is totally made for that. Not to mention, you can see how far back that GPU is spaced from the glass. It allows that card to breathe very well. Very, very well.
Looks like you went with pink and rose gold for our next one here.
Oh, okay. Hold on 1 second here. Let's give this guy a quick second, because you guys got something really cool here. All right, I would say for this one, give it a second. Let me get this off. All right. So this is a build by Mark Molina. Now, he did a really crazy job. When he took this out and loaded it on the table, I was like, dude, what is this? And then he's like, wait 1 second. Hits the button and boom.
Wow.
You go from a fully mirrored panel to where you cannot see anything inside to just boom, there's your entire build. It's just gorgeous. I love what he did here. Mark actually went with some copper tubing as well. Rather than having it chrome plated though, he left it as the bare copper. And this just came out gorgeous.
Oh, did it ever.
He took apart the entire inside and relocated everything. And it just came out so very nice. He still maintained a power supply shroud, but just with the amount of things that got moved around, I was so impressed. Mark does some amazing work. And,
I see you got a little Thermaltake guy in there as well?
Yeah, he had a TT dude as well. I'm like, Mark, you might have to keep an eye on that. I'm running low on them. But if this wasn't enough, check out this back panel. This back panel, I was like, wow. Check that out. He went the extra step. It's our 20-year anniversary, and how fitting. How fitting that the back panel just has a fully custom edge. I was so impressed with this. Mark just does some amazing work, man.
What's this last guy we got here, too?
All right, that one is really cool. This started out life as a level 20 VT, and the only thing that really gives you some indication is actually the top panel, which, yeah, this is by Eric. He's out from Canada. This is just an amazing build. It's so gorgeous. He actually went with something you don't normally see with Thermaltake water cooling, but we do have a 12 mil line for tubing.
Okay.
Primarily, we like to use a 16 mil because it's nice and beefy, but this was a very good call for this small form factor build, and it's just so very impressive, everything he did. I mean, looking at the front, this isn't even all of it. We can walk around to the back and you still have some more treats back there too. It's just a very gorgeous PC.
Wow, is that ever impressive? You gotta see this.
I love this pump reservoir mounting. It was just very ingenious with how he went about placing everything where he did.
So was he like the other rumors of these custom mod case? Did he carry it with him the whole way to flying down from Canada? I heard so many horror stories at CES already.
Actually, this year went very, very good. Basically, most of these mods were actually shipped in. We had a lot of these shipped in crates. These guys, I mean, this is what they do, man.
Yeah.
Creating custom stuff. So just creating another custom perfectly fitted box is just another thing for them.
Exactly.
They're very good with what they do with that. But yeah, no, they're definitely in the past. There's been some crazy horror stories about stuff showing up, and it's like, oh no. But no, this year everything was great.
Perfect.
I think the one that actually did carry it in was Mark Molina, and it was just because he drove down.
Yeah.
For Stuart, it's a little bit different because he's out of Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a long trip. All right, so if you guys are ready, let's check out some cases.
All right.
All right. One of my personal favorites. This is our Level 20 VT. Now, this is going to look very, very similar to our old Core V21 because it's actually a refresh off of that line. The biggest complaint I got off of that Core V21 is like, dude, I love my mesh, but I want some TG panels. That's how everything's going. Please, we want an update. Well, guess what? It's here. I personally had a buddy that was bugging me about it for months, and I was so excited that one day I could just text him and be like, hey, check out the site, bro.
It just, without any mods, it's a showstopper case because you can see everything that someone's paid to put into their system, and everything looks custom no matter what.
And I mean, just the layout itself is genius because, like you said, you can see everything that you've paid to put in. I love that this has native vertical GPU mounting.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Yeah. If you have a beautiful shroud on your video card or a nice water block, you should be able to see that.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, if you hide it with facing it down, what good does that do? I kind of feel like you spent some money. Yes, you're getting the performance out of it, but you're losing some aesthetics.
Yeah. Why not go reference with everything then?
Yeah, exactly. This guy is gorgeous. I love how it's just completely wrapped in the tempered glass. But with that being said, everything is fully removable. All the sides, the top, the front, and the kicker for me was the bottom. You can tear this thing down into nothing but just a cubed skeleton, which makes working in it a dream. It's very, very nice. I've had some buddies that are used to smaller like cube case builds like this, and they just said this was awesome to work in. Even doing LCS, it's just a dream. We have our Level 20 MT. This is a very nice little case. It's very similar to, let's say, like our View 22 or such, except it's getting hit with our Level 20 and tempered glass treatment. Some nice features that this has that those cases did not is the side-mounted radiator right there. One benefit that I like about that is I can use my front fans for nothing but intake, have them focus on nothing but cold air. The other awesome benefit to this is you're not bleeding heat into the rest of your chamber. It's bleeding it out through the back.
Perfect.
Making it for better airflow throughout the rest of the case. Very nice overall. It comes with 3 ARGB fans. So we talked about earlier how that syncs up to the motherboard. But if you do not want to sync it to the motherboard, you actually have hardware control on the top. It'll cycle through quite a few different modes. Kind of a lot for me to go over, but there's a lot to mess with there. Very nice case overall. If you guys had previously seen our Core X9, well, here's our XT. I love the X9, just everything about it. It was something just very different about it. It's almost like a little mini fridge with just tons of room. This XT just blew me away. Again, it's like the VT. I love that it has tempered glass everywhere, big gapped out panels, 200mm fan mounting. You know, that's something that's coming up right now, and we're really focusing on that. The open frame design, it's nice because, like how I said, you have that vertical GPU mounting. You get that with this too, but if you wanted to, throw in a couple more GPUs. You can totally do it in a case like this. I mean, I had enough room to go dual loop, and there's not a whole lot of cases where you can really go dual loop.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
Very satisfying actually being able to do that. All right.
Definitely looks impressive.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Moving on, we have our Level 20. So I'm pretty sure you guys have been seeing this guy since last year around CES or so, but I love this case. It's just gorgeous. It really has a very nice presence to it. One thing that I really do like about the modular design is, let's get this window open for you. is because this compartment is nothing but the radiator. Again, just like the MT, you are completely not having to worry about radiator bleeding heat into the main compartment. That main compartment is kept to itself, where it has its own dedicated intake and exhaust. Even though it's being water cooled, it still has a good amount of air moving through it. So you have some very nice thermals for that. Not to mention, it's a very nice appearance. And then we got our little power supply. Never really has to deal with thermals, but since we always really like to do RGB lighting on the power supply, might as well show it off and really be able to take all of that in. You know, like we were saying earlier, a lot of times you just hide that power supply and then that's it. You never really see it after. You know, this way you actually feel like you get something extra out of that. Not to mention, because it's 3 separate chambers, it's kind of interesting when it comes to running water cooling. I mean, you kind of see here, this tube like disappears, runs up to the top, and then comes back down. And it's definitely a little difficult, but it's fun. It was a cool little challenge to do, and you feel really good once you actually get everything done there. And there's a cool, sweet, extra little surprise. We have our level 20 but in Miami blue. Now, this is something that we want to test out. We want some feedback, you know. Do you guys like the color? How do you like the finish? Normally, everything we see is always black, white, and silver.
Oh, exactly.
This is a really nice change up to things. I want to see more of this. We just want some feedback from, you know, you guys. You guys are going to be the ones buying it. We want to know, what colors do you guys maybe want to see? Do you like the gloss? Would you prefer to see a dusted look?
Yeah, or a matte look kind of thing. Yeah. Make sure in the comments, guys, to tell us exactly what you think of this. What do you think about this color? I think it looks like a nice Cali blue, an old 50s car, 60s car. Really love the look of it myself. Maybe a little more RHR blue to it, but it does not look bad in any way to myself.
I'm very, very excited. I've been wanting to see some more custom painted cases, and oh man, I got some butterflies when I saw this one. All right, so now we've had the A500 on the market for a good little bit. This is our A700. It's very similar to the 500, especially in the design features, keeping that clean, minimalistic design. However, the A700 is the big boy. It's got a nice big wide body design, plenty of room for cable management, and if you want to go LCS, it is perfectly set up for that. This actually shares a lot of similarities with the GT that we were looking at earlier. Especially one of my favorites is this guy. This is a GPU brace for this bracket. I mean, we're talking about some graphics cards now are so heavy, they sag no matter what you do. And we're talking about $1,200, $1,300 graphics cards. I mean, if you install that and it sags, kind of feels bad, man. Like, you paid that much, it should look gorgeous in your system. This perfectly distributes out that weight. You shouldn't have to worry about that sag.
You can see endless air flow throughout this entire case. It's got that nice honeycomb throughout everywhere. The sides, the back, so you don't have any fears of bad airflow throughout it. And
one cool thing that I forgot to mention earlier. These power supply shrouds that we see in the A series and the GTs, they're actually fully removable.
Okay,
so
nice.
If you don't prefer to have a power supply shroud, you don't have to. If you decide to run this without the power supply shroud, you can actually, there's another one of these to go without it.
Okay, awesome.
So you can brace it off of the power supply. I was so happy with that. This guy's also maintaining that side mounting radiator for additional radiator options and mounting. You know, just make things nice, easy. Whatever you want to do with that, you should be able to. And then before we move on to that A500, because I'm pretty sure you guys have seen that, I want to talk about this guy. This guy I'm pretty happy with. This is our S500. So to differentiate between the lineups, this guy's aluminum and in silver. This guy is steel and in black. What that means is we're able to bring the cost a nice bit lower than the A series, but it gets to retain a lot of the nice aesthetics and functionality of the A series.
Is there a big weight change though, going to steel with it?
It's a slight change. It's not too crazy, but I mean, it's nothing crazy groundbreaking, I would say. Like, it's not going to feel like a feather or like a complete brick.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Power supply shroud is a slight bit different, and you'll have some changes on like the windows itself, but overall it's maintaining most of that functionality from those previous builds, which I mean, they're touted as high-end cases, so it's pretty nice finding a case that will fit most people's budgets with a lot of those additional features.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. All right, now for my favorite, it's always the water cooling.
All right.
Let's see here. So I believe last CES and Computex we showed off some of our copper radiators. I've been waiting for our copper rads for a really long time. I was very happy that we did it. My only thing with the last set of copper rads is they were either super thin AIO thickness or super massive 64 millimeter thickness.
Don't fit in many cases of push-pull at all.
It gets a little tough. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fun with the challenge, but it's a little tough sometimes. These are 40 mil. What I like about these is, let's say you set up a 64 and you have it in a push or a pull configuration, you're at about 89 millimeters. With this guy, in push-pull, you're at about 90. So it's only 1 millimeter more and you get push-pull. That's awesome. I really like that even though they went to a small size, they're able to maintain the 5th drain port. This port is so essential for me. I mean, without this, to drain out a radiator, it means flipping it upside down.
Disassembling your loop.
Either disassembling the loop or picking up the whole build and flipping her upside down. With this, you can attach one of like a 90-degree adapter, a drain port, make your life easy, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, I can't wait to start using these guys. This is going to be in my next build for sure. You know, a few times, you know, I've mentioned ARGB. We're rounding out the lineup for everything. We now have our Water 3.0s in ARGB as well. So if you're not looking to, you know, you're looking for a good AIO, but you don't want to have to mess with our software, or you just don't want a lot of extra software to deal with, this is perfect.
Yeah, this is a great solution for somebody who doesn't want to overly mod the system, but they want it to be cool, quiet, and just look nice.
Exactly, and very simple. You know, all you have to do is make the changes on your motherboard software, which you're most likely already going to be doing, and you're all set to go. These just take care of the rest. I've been very happy with this. Excited to start seeing some more stuff like this. Moving on, just glancing over quickly, we have our 2070 block. It is very similar to the 2080 Ti block, but you know, made for the 2070 itself. One thing I really liked about these blocks is these cables are actually going to go to another special splitter cable. And it'll actually run it for ARGB capability or full plus capability. With that one purchase, you get both. You don't have to go back and forth or purchase additional stuff, which for me, that's awesome. You know, if you don't have to buy additional stuff, it leaves more money for extra stuff that you might want to buy. Now we also have some new coolants. I'm really excited about this stuff. We have our T1000, I call it the Terminator, and our P1000. So the T1000 stands for transparent, the P1000 stands for pastel. I have the pastel right here. Let me go ahead and grab the transparent. Transparent, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen stuff like this before. It's been on the market for a good little bit. This though, I'm very excited for. Now most solid coolants that you have to run, or anything with like a non-see-through effect, you generally have to have some type of a solid powder or something like that in there. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is over time or leaving your system off, you end up with gunking or clogging. It
can be really hard on the motor, everything else. The pump just starts to die.
It doesn't look good. You start killing stuff, lines pop out. I've seen some horrible stuff. This pastel is powderless. There is nothing in suspension in there to go ahead and settle. I mean, this has been sitting here all day. You don't see any the slightest bit of settling.
You were telling us that they already have an anti-algae in them and everything else, so there's no need for a copper coil or anything of that matter.
Exactly. All of our coolants are non-conductive and they have biocides added into it.
Impressive.
You don't need any copper coils or anything like that, like you were mentioning. You're just good to go. You're not going to find some extra little floaty dudes in your loop, you know, hitching a ride. We also have a couple of blocks here. We have our W6. I love this guy. You know, AMD's been doing a lot of really cool stuff. Threadripper's made a ton of waves, and we ended up, you know, we have to do a block for it. Why not?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and you know, the only thing is when your CPU is as big as a credit card, you need a really big block. And that's what we came through for with Threadripper. I'm really excited to see this. I know some people were able to make some blocks work that weren't designed for it, but you know, it's nice having something that's designed for it. Not to mention, it's full RGB plus, it fits within the ecosystem, and we've seen all the craziness that can do. You guys have seen our W4.
Yeah, we saw it on a couple of the rigs as we were coming over here.
Yep, this is our W5. It's got a slight bit of changes to it. They've moved the inlet into the center for a different design, and actually have also included a coolant temperature sensor. So that's pretty nice. I mean, we already have a ton of stuff that tells us our CPU temperature. It's kind of interesting to see what the coolant's doing right there on top of the CPU package. And then, before we move too far, We've had some RGB fittings before.
Yeah.
Previously, they were all hardware controlled. At the time, I was perfectly fine with it. Everything was hardware controlled. Now, things are different. Everything's software. These are now software controlled. I am so excited about it. We're going to go by a build in a bit, and I'm going to show you exactly what these guys can do. It's so impressive. Really quick, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. This one's soft tube, but I mean, you were mentioning to me you started out water cooling.
I started out with the big water kit from Thermaltake back in the day before you guys had these kits. If they had these kits, I would have been a step even way beyond it. This is the best way to start. If you're not sure what you need or how to get everything going, a kit like this is just absolutely the best way to get into your foray of water cooling. Don't worry, they're very durable.
Soft tube and hard tube. I mean, funny that you mentioned that because that's how I got my start as well. I started out with the kit. I mean, before I had learned anything about water cooling, it's so overwhelming with all those fittings like you mentioned. It's like you have all the different sizes. You know, you're still trying to learn about inner diameter, outer diameter. It's all done here.
What's the actual material for the hard tubes?
PETG.
Okay, so it's a lot more durable.
Yes, I love PETG. One of our favorite things to do in the shop is when someone new comes in and they ask about it, we give them a tube and we're like, dude, do what you can, see if you can break it. You won't. We've sat there and smashed them against tables. I've bent them over my knee. All they'll do is bend, or if they do break, it'll just break in a nice clean line. I've yet to actually have one of these tubes shatter. Not to mention, what I really love about this tubing is it's got a very thick outer wall, which means it's very forgiving when you're heating it. You're not going to deal with as many like bubbles or tears or anything in the tube. I was very, very impressed with that.
A lot nicer than acrylic. You don't have to worry about it cracking constantly from heat changes or anything like that. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, it's really nice. All right.
So now we're moving on to the accessories.
Yeah, going on to some of the peripherals. We have a new level 20 keyboard. This guy is really cool. We're going to be offering it in silver and black. Now, there's one thing everyone always asks. First thing, you know, it's a keyboard. What switches does it have? This model is going to be coming with cherry silvers and cherry blues, and as an added kicker, Razer box greens. Not something I've ever seen outside of a Razer keyboard, which it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, we're really interested to see where this Razer partnership leads you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, overall, I really love the construction and build of the keyboard. It's got a very nice feel with the aluminum faceplate. Tons and tons of RGB lighting. I mean, everywhere. So whatever you want to do with it, you're completely set. One benefit that I liked about this keyboard is if you're on the go, maybe a LAN party or something, you want to make some changes to your lighting, but you can't get into your app, it actually has full manual lighting controls. I mean, everything from light modes, light effects, speeds for all those effects, lighting, you can change your lighting, the RGB lighting for each individual key and just go through. Or you have your preset profiles, up to 6 of them. I mean, it makes things very, very simple and easy for on the go. Rounding that out, we also have a cloth RGB mouse pad. Now, normally when I saw RGB mouse pads, they were always hard pads, but I'm not lying, it is cloth. And it's just not something I really thought I was going to see there. It was pretty interesting to see. It rounds out with everything very, very nicely, especially with our new HS1 headset stand, which is fully syncable with our ecosystem and does support pass-throughs as well. And really quick, just so people aren't going to be like, oh, I don't believe you with the green switches, there you go.
They're definitely different looking actual top to their switches too, aren't they?
Yeah, they call them box switches, I guess. That's what I've been hearing.
Is it supposed to make them more durable from actually hitting on the side, or what's the point of that?
I actually have not heard anything about that. I mean, the best I could think is because it has the rounding right there, it catches the cap a little bit stronger. That's all I could think versus it like maybe slipping. But I really haven't had a problem with the key slipping off to the side or anything.
And they're not overly loud either.
No, what I had noticed with these switches is if you like the blues, but the excessive noise is really bad for you, but you can deal with some noise, the greens are actually perfect. They're a little bit quieter, they have a little bit of a less tactile feel, but like they're very, very nice. I like these switches a lot, even though I'm a blue guy. Like I love the clickety clackety.
All about the reds, like the silence.
No, I have to be as loud as possible. People have to know I'm writing an email. All right, so we got something else to show you really quick. And that's our new gaming desk and some more of the GT. So really cool.
All right.
So they showed off a little bit of this at Computex, but this is really a big first for us. This is our brand new level 20 RGB gaming desk. As you can see, it's full size RGB rope lighting, and that's actually syncing over to our system. It's going to go through our RGB Plus app, or actually the Razer Synapse software.
Very cool.
So we'll show you an example of that in a little bit. But one other thing that makes this desk pretty cool is it is fully motorized.
I was just about to ask you, what are the buttons on the side here?
Yeah, so if you want to sit or stand, you're all set to go. You can orient it for either. I mean, for me as a builder, I actually really like that feature because there's sometimes I don't want to have to stress to get up to the top of the case. That's kind of nice. I can just lower it. It makes things very simple. It actually does have a full mouse pad going all the way across the desk, all the way to the back, with 3 cable management openings for it. So you're all set. You shouldn't have a super crazy bundle. One thing that I really liked about this desk as well is I've looked up online, you can get the legs and the motors on your own, things like that. And sometimes you can find them pretty cheap. One thing I noticed is this has additional cross bracing that none of those other ones have had. So you actually have full steel beams going across.
So you don't have to worry about your investment hitting the floor.
Exactly. It makes it so it's not wiggly. It doesn't jiggle all over the place. You don't have to worry about just something breaking out of where it should have. And now your $1,500, $3,000 computers sitting on the floor in pieces. So I really like this thing. It's very interesting. I need to talk to someone to see if I can make this my office desk.
So with the LED strips around it, is there any issues with mounting a monitor bracket to the back? Say you want a triple arm, dual arm, is that going to work
not
fine?
that I've seen.
Okay.
No, it's gone through perfectly fine. I mean, depending on how that monitor mount goes, I would possibly suggest maybe moving the mouse pad and maybe going underneath, but shouldn't be any problem underneath. It's pretty much solid and flat, so you shouldn't have too many issues.
What material is it actually made out of? Is it wood underneath there? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a wood board. Okay. Along with, speaking about cable management, since I hit on that earlier, there's actually a full tray down beneath. Underneath the build, kind of thrown right here just for the time being, but that's a full tray for it to allow you to manage all of your cables, make everything super easy. I mean, this is meant to become a full gaming station for you.
That's awesome.
So it should look very immaculate once you're done.
Yep.
Yeah. And then really quickly, I got one more desk, and then I can show you a cool example of the Razer stuff too.
Sounds good.
So I understand that desk actually had a price point of I believe around $10.99. So it's not super cheap, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit lower in price point, this guy's actually coming in at $3.99.
Okay, that's
it's non-motorized, but it is still fully adjustable. It maintains those cross-beam structures that I was talking about. Overall, just a really nice little desk. It's very sturdy. I love it. I mean, it has that same mouse pad, just without some of the little bit of an extra flair and such. And yeah, we got our system plan for it, right?
That's really impressive.
Yeah, let's run over here really quick. I got one more example I was going to show you.
Perfect. We're just going to kick another group out of here real quick.
Just throw it in again. Oh, go ahead. Okay, thank you. All right. So right now we have our desk set up. It's running and synced through the Razer software. So this is not through our software. I really wanted to show off this partnership because it is awesome. Every time I switch characters, everything's going to update to reflect that. And I mean, you're in the game, anything that your Razer software would normally do, this is going to just completely mess through everything.
Nice.
I mean, we even have it done with the Razer mouse right here, just to show all of that off. And I mean, like, to me, that was awesome. As soon as I saw this, I immediately imagined myself in a little room, just dark, gaming away at it. And it's very cool. I mean, it's a fully immersive experience. It's not something that you always get all the time.
That is really impressive. It's something just completely different.
Yep. Now, going back to those RGB fittings, really quick before I forget. If you take a look at some of these tubes.
Yeah, you can see the little ring around them as they look.
And that's because it's those addressable RGB fittings. With my old standard RGB fittings, I would have had to open up something, hit a controller to change all of those colors. Now it's just everything's working flush all together.
That is absolutely awesome.
And like I said, it's just to make it the easiest, most customizable experience that you can have. Because I mean, why not? It's your build. You should be able to.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Anthony, for your time.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
I'm John with Real Hardware Reviews. This is Thermaltake. It's CES 2019. Make sure to like, subscribe, and have a great day, everyone.